All right, greetings and welcome to today's interesting. This might be a first, actually. I don't really know. So, deck tech video, deck construction video, deck deep dive video. So we got two locals here with us, Robert and Matt. I will just go ahead. I know have you both introduce yourself. Matt, you've been on before, so I'm going to start with Robert. So, Robert, go ahead and maybe give the folks that might be possibly listening to this a little bit of a backstory on your journey in Flesh and Blood.
Okay, hi, I'm Robert. So I started shortly before Dusk Till Dawn as a set. I went to a local store and bought a box of history pack and opened it all and got some pretty good stuff. Ended up building Dash out of that. My brother-in-law, Matthew, who you'll soon meet again, kind of helped me put the pieces together and get started. And that was the beginning of it all. So yeah, here we are.
Excellent.
Some of my favorite classes, I guess, since I started as Mech, obviously I have a ton of love for Mech, but I quickly transitioned to playing Runeblade and Wizard and other decks. So here very recently, though, I've gone back to Mech. So
yeah. Your Vincent list at locals has been super fun to watch that kind of evolve. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was definitely a learning experience. She was the second deck I built, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but she's come a long way. So
that was a labor of love. Built that right at the start of Dusk Till Dawn when she was not good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Matt, welcome back.
Yes, thank you for having me again. This is always fun.
Want to do a quick intro for those that might not know who you are?
Yeah, I'm Matt. I've been playing since probably right around Tales of Aria, a little bit before. I learned how to play right before I moved out to Colorado to help run a game store because I didn't know anything about it. I wanted to learn about the game and quickly fell in love with Flesh and Blood. Just thought it was the most fun that I'd ever had playing a game. I had played Magic for probably going on half a decade, maybe 6-7 years after that, or before that, excuse me. And it was awesome. I started playing Katsu. I got the shit kicked out of me for the first 6 months that I played, and it just kept me in it, kept me wanting to play it. So it's been a great time.
Rock on. Well, I guess I will just go ahead and kick this shindig off. So as we had mentioned, I guess maybe we'll give a little bit of backstory on where this came to be. Is I have been tryharding Mech now for, God, the last, I don't know, at least 2-3 months off and on. From Dash IE, Dash IO, Teklevasen. I was actually running a Teklevasen list for a little bit. Then I went to Max, was trying that. And, the suggestion was, why not try Puffin? And here we are with people that know a lot more about the game than myself. And we are going to have one simple goal. Try to create a deck that in our locals is competitive but not insane, but also still fun to play, and that hopefully I won't get too tilted playing. So with that, I'm going to go microscopic here. Boop. Boop. And where do you want to start? How do you want to approach this? I'm kind of letting y'all drive, and I'm going to just ask a lot of questions along the way.
Well, I know that Robert and I, within at least the last week that we've been talking about it, have put our own lists together. But if I could be so bold to say that it would probably be kind of fun to start with just kind of brewing a little bit and seeing what you, Jacob, personally would want to do with this deck and kind of how we can guide you in the direction. I wouldn't say
that's
that
a good idea, actually. Yeah,
I wouldn't say
you have our list. What kind of decks?
Sure.
What do you want to do with this deck?
Well, obviously I'm going to run Puffin. Now, I guess I'm going to go big here for a second and show you. I think I demoed this to Matt, but I picked out a quality deck. It's ready to go. It's in my hand. It's a physical deck. And I decided that, because there's a new card that I really enjoy, that we would attempt an Armory with nothing but the unlimited cogs. So I present to you my Puffin 60 card unlimited copper cog deck for review. What's your thoughts on this deck?
You will most certainly crank twice a turn, and you will most certainly draw a card every turn. So
that's true. I'd be worried about fatigue. Maybe you're going to burn through that thing. So
I would say you got to be real careful with your blocks too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it sounds like that is probably not the best to start with. Got it. Okay.
We're going to put that more closely in the category of jank. I think.
Gotcha. All right. Let's go to some of these random decks that I have. I can show you two that I was given, and we can talk about those and kind of maybe the pros and cons of them. But I did want to start with a little bit of humor because that was one of my favorite. Like for some reason that particular card has just like I love it a lot, and yeah, it's super fun. So this one was a variation of a card. I guess deck. This is most closely related to the deck that I was playing last week. This is the one that was titled Puff Puff Pass, which my understanding of this build after playing it during that event was more so that the idea is not so much super aggro, but like kind of as Matt alluded to me in a parking lot was it's a Guardian style mech deck. You're going to come in with one really large attack, and you're going to set your turns up to do such. So with this, you can also get a lot of cogs out. So there's a decent amount of copper cogs, and by using those, I noticed the gold generation is a little bit hard to do with this variation of the deck. So it's not something that I'm saying is probably like the absolute best, but the core that I'm seeing with this is much more trying to get one big card out and then surprising them with, I think the pummels are in here somewhere if I remember, or yeah, the pummel. So like whether it's the Conquer of the High Sea, Command and Conquer, Palantir Aeronaut, Cogworks Dovetail, even, Golden Skywarden, you're basically just coming in for some really over the top big, thing, and then hoping that you can bust through and pummel, which would rip the card out of their hand. And then if it's one of the two, you also theoretically would be able to pop a card out of their arsenal and really just enjoy life. Now, for the turns where you have somehow enough resources, you could use things like the Cogworks Dovetail, which would then allow you to basically give it go again. So you can go a little bit wider, or you could also, because these are ones, you could stack these up and try to go for like a kind of a wide-ish turn. But Soup Up with Galvanize, that was another card that seems pretty common in a lot of the decks I've seen. And it has, the Galvanize mechanic, so you can use it to defend a little bit more over than a standard 3-block. But then it'll also allow you to, I guess because your cogs are coming and going all the time because of seam counters, that pretty much is always going to be like a block 4. That's just kind of my generality with it. Again, this does have the Fableds in it. Do I need them? Probably not. It does seem that they do, like the gold generation one. I hate to say that it's damn near you have to have it, but like you have to create gold, and that's just a fucking easy way to make gold. Like it's super super good. So sideboard stuff. There was some shelters, sink belows. Kind of a couple different options of equipment, and Jolly Bludger is also a really interesting card. The more and more I kind of dive into that card, I do like it, but again, it's yellow. It costs 2. You get overpower, but that was kind of I would call it goal tall. Take your time, slow your tempo down, kind of a deck. What were your initial thoughts on maybe that?
Go ahead, Matt.
Robert. All right. We talked about this at our Armory as well, where, this style of deck is effective, right? This disruption style, it takes advantage of Mechanologist having, perpetually 3 blocks on almost all of their stuff, and now 4 blocks with Galvanize. Obviously, it's conditional, but, you have things like Golden Skywarden that it's at that 4 resource cost, so it and 2 blues, you're perfect to be able to pummel, which it runs the 3 red pummels. So it's kind of why I alluded to it being like a Guardian style. It really just kind of, my brain sees the 4 cost attack actions and pummels and puts it all together. It looks fine. It looks fine. This is probably a mid-rangey kind of control, and it looks like the sideboard is to make it a little more control-y. It looks like the shelters, the sink belows, backup protocol reds are really just probably to get back CNCs or whatever other, I don't know if it's Mechanologist specific, but to get back just some other
red
red attack
Mechanologist
actions.
attack action, so it would be restricted to in the
It could be
current
Plantier
list.
Aeronaut. It could be
Soup Up, Plantier Aeronaut, and
yeah.
Cogworks Dovetail, or even Cog in the well, no, it'd be Cogworks Zeppelin maybe. That's another one.
Zeppelin's nice. Zeppelin's a 2-for-6 go again if you have a cog up. I personally, I think this is a fine list. This is not what I would envision for Puffin. This is not the route that I would take. I would think Puffin is probably closer akin to like Dash IE, of just going really, really wide. And really it's kind of unique in the sense of like when you can start building that board state of cogs, you can go wide, but you can also start going really tall, which is it's cool. It's really fun to live. But this I think is fine. I know you and I have talked about you were kind of more of the setup mech player.
I do love me some board states. I don't actually have them relatively close at hand, but I 3D printed a bunch of the tokens for like Steam and thrice per turn. I actually just made one for the Intellect because I was really excited to see that. I think I have one of them behind me, but yeah, not worth grabbing at the moment. I'll show you later. So
I think this is a list. I know this is the first one you tried. I don't think that this is the list for you. I think that with even just the conversation that Robert and I have been saying, and I'm sure what he'll add to this too, is like you can make a board state. You can have almost too much of a board state with this deck sometimes if you're really slapping pieces down and really playing the right cards and jittering cogs, and you can do quite a bit. So,
Robert, what's your thoughts?
I like the list. As a Vin set player, I learned to love Pummel. So in anything that I can fit Pummel in, I'm always a fan. I think it's one of the best generic cards you can put in a deck that runs a lot of 2-cost attacks. I do think with Puffin, you're going to find a lot more power in sticking to your lower cost attacks. But I am a bit of a purist when it comes to mech. So like when I play Dash, every card in there's a mech card. There's no question if when I boost, I'm going to hit a mech card off the top. And I took so much comfort in that as a new player that it's hard for me to shy away from that even today. So there's not even a ton of like pirate cards on my list. I think they're all mech cards. There might be some pirate mech cards, but very little deviation from that kind of game plan. You know what I mean? So, and this list looks similar. It shares a ton of cards.
It's interesting to hear you say that too, with the whole similarity of wanting to know it's 100% boost, right? Because that used to not be the joke. Boost was almost damn near guarantee I'm gonna get that action. Then people started putting a little bit of generics in some of their decks. I seen that in more of a Dash IO and kind of builds, and you would have to like, okay, it's a 1 in 60 or 2 in 60 or 3 in 60 chance. Now with like Puffin, right? Because there's pirate cards, you could literally have a 0 in 60 or like a almost damn near close to 50-50 depending on how you build your deck. It's wild to think that boost used to be a guarantee and now you're like, I don't know. So without opting, you could be blind flipping and that could really change the game plan.
100%. And I think that's something to consider. I feel like Puffin's the first, because even Max wants to boost quite a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Puffin's the first mech where I really felt like you're not super incentivized to boost. My very first iteration of her list, which I put together a couple days ago, because I haven't looked a ton into this set until very recently, I went ahead and threw in like Teklo Foundry Core and tried to force in some more boost cards to see if I could make use of that, because it's one of my all-time favorite equipment. And I found that it just wasn't reliable enough with what I think the core focus of her deck should be, which is ultimately to crank 2 times every turn and draw an extra card every single turn.
So you're leveraging the ability.
100%, but not so much the gold aspect of it.
Okay.
I've tried some different headpieces. I think kind of Dominion. I think you're spot on with gold being integral to the start of the game. But I think if you build the deck right, you can roll into turns 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and make enough golden cogs that you don't need gold tokens. But like Matt said, I think this is a great jumping off point as far as a Puffin list goes. You know what I mean? It gets you in the habit of all the stuff you have to do as a mech player. But
yeah, and I do want to touch on one thing that again I don't say maybe complained about, but I've noticed is that the gold generation or card draw now seems to be a feature in a lot of the different classes that are now because of the sets or this kind of focus on the drawing, especially in high seas. And it's almost, it gets tilted in a weird way if you can't keep up with that draw and your class doesn't have access to those extra draw cards, because incrementally over the course of a game, I think the version I was playing of Max that had basically no gold generation whatsoever, no card advantage draw, just pretty much straight like try to do the crank and the cards and get it out there. It just, I felt like I was getting behind because the other players were like, okay, I'm going to crack a gold, draw a card, I'm going to do this, I'm going to pitch, I'm going to draw a card, I'm going to play this specific card in my class that lets me, draw and discard, or I'm going to take a card, tuck it underneath, or what. There was just a lot of those type of effects, and I felt like the further I got into it, I was like, wow, if I don't actually leverage gold, then I'm kind of screwed. So anyways, that was one thing I noticed with that. If I can, other than this mosquito, die.
Yeah, so I think you're spot on, but I think you're looking at the wrong aspect of the situation. I don't think that it's the gold itself. I think it's the fact that the gold makes the golden cog that gives you the crank, that gives you the card draw. Because the power, I mean, in all of my playtests, I didn't pay to crack a single gold. You know what I mean? It was always more worthwhile to me to break the gold and use poly or generate a golden cog somehow to kind of force that. And I even looked at other options, such as including boom grenades into the list, to just get anything that has crank, essentially,
Sure.
to make it worthwhile. And I did find that extra card, I mean, some would argue that the whole reason we lost High Octane was because of the card draw from Cerebellum Processor and the action points and being able to go so deep and then so wide. And I see hints of that in this deck, as well as some other cards that let you go up to, 3 action points with a single card, essentially, and some other pretty crazy things. So.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back and talk on that specific piece. The other part of the Puffin that would be nice to talk about before we jump to this other version of the deck that I was, kind of shared in our Discord was, I never thought about looking at the ability as 2 separate, independent, unique abilities. The action, destroy the gold, that is one ability. You can focus or not on it. But the second static ability that's there also is technically its own unique ability. So really she has 2 abilities. Sure. And you can use both, or you can choose to focus on one, or you can try to use one to lead into the other. And the last bit that I noticed was if you lose all your gold and you lose all your cogs, the engine stalls. That happened at least during one of the games where somehow I blocked out, they blocked out, and then all my cogs fell away, and it was just like, wow, I can't really generate more cogs because I don't have the gold to do. It was a scenario there, but I think the engine has to keep going throughout the course of the game, because if you lose that momentum, it probably impacts her. To me, it seems like it impacts quite a bit.
Well, we talk about how important equipment is to heroes, and as far as min-maxing in this game, I mean, starting with Crown of Dominion and Polycranka, and from here on out, I'm just going to say the bird. I cannot stand how cheeky that they put their own accent onto the name of this card, so I'm just going to call him the bird. But if you start with Crown of Dominion and the bird, you have at your fingertips a get-out-of-jail-free cards. You have 2 cranks available to you for free with no requirements from your hands, and you are able to get your whole chain rolling that way. That is absolutely like, you can use it as the start of something huge. You can use it to go to essentially a 6-card hand, including your arsenal, or you can use that, like I said, as just hit the emergency button. We're panicking. We got to get some cranks. We got to draw a card. We got to start doing something.
I would agree.
For sure.
This is that second deck list. Basically, it was called Boost Puffin. Very similar set of equipment: Cogworks, Tinkering, Crown Dominion, Tunic, the Bird is the word, Spitfire, and Unicycle, which is kind of wild to think the Unicycle is the best in class for the feat, given that it's a common, but that untap a cog can really change, especially at instant speed. You can eke through 1 extra damage or give it go again and surprise somebody like that. That is such a pivotal card in my eyes to Puffin.
Jacob, we talked when we talked last week about ninjas. I mean, that Katsu list runs Breaking Scales, which is still a common, and Heart and Cross Straps, and some still run Snapdragon Scalers. I mean, one of the coolest things about this game, honestly, is that there is still like a ton of power in commons and rares. Like you can still make really, really nice decks just using the whole spectrum of rarity.
I need to actually look whether or not I can buy one of those unicycle cards, because I think it's a cold foil of it is what it would be.
Probably from the treasure packs, right?
I think so. But before I derail myself, unicycle treasure. This list it looked to be a lot more, again, boosty. More of the cards I would have typically seen in the Dash IO deck. So Fast and Furious, Heists, 0 to 60s, Throttles. I would call them, zipper hits, the good OG mech cards that were in this. It did leverage some of the Mechanologist new stuff, like these Cogwork Zeppelins, right? And the reason it is because I'm assuming with the cogs, and by tapping those cogs, you get more cogs. So there seems to be some good synergy with that, right? That is essentially maybe even a better version of a zipper hit or a 0 to 60, and that seems to be why they're running rainbows of those here. You still have your powerful Palantir Aeronaut, your anti-fatigue cog and machine, which also gives you the 2 golden cogs. The thing that this list doesn't seem to really have, I mean, again, soup ups are in here. Again, another card that seems, kind of synonymous with the build that I've seen so far, is I don't see a lot of gold generation in this particular one, right? You're not running as many of the pirate cards. So because of that, right, we mentioned that 100% boost option. And looking here, because of everything is a mech card, you have a guaranteed go again on boost. So that's kind of where I'll start with this list. And then the sideboard is, Boom Grenades, Jolly Bludger, good old Achilles Accelerator. Misfire Dampener is something interesting because I joke that, I wear this hat all the time. Like, I love this card. But, like, that is one of those items that I feel like it could be good, but it's only really good for maybe arcane damage, I guess. But
100%. But I looked at that card earlier as well, and I think it's hard to beat in arcade matchups. Just like I think Spellvoid 2 is top notch against arcade matchups. So I'm into that for sure. And if you don't mind, I'll kick off with this one.
Sure.
I love boosting. Does this list have, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Does it have max velocities in it?
It does not.
Okay, so there's no max Vs, and we're using the cog weapon. But what I see in this list is you're 100% going to stall out. And then you're going to be relying on just traditional boosting, but you don't really have any traditional boost payoffs. So I would look at this list as more of a, like, this is what my heart cries out for when I build a mech deck. Don't get me wrong. This is exactly what I want to do. But with Puffin specifically, I don't think she's the one. I think you'd be better off taking Dash IO and building her more like Dash IE.
Sure.
And going that traditional route and just kind of, because you do get actually a lot of perks. Like, I will say this as a small side note. In Dash IO with Crown of Providence, that is one of the sweetest interactions where you can look at that top card and then decide if it's worth using your crown to filter your hand or your arsenal. So I think that's always a great choice in mech. But I think this would leave you feeling a bit short of the end goal. It has all the pieces, and there is a fair amount of copper cogs. So I guess you're not going to be totally hung out to dry. There's a chance that you roll into them, but every player that plays Ranger or Runeblade or Mechanologist, where they don't go full tilt aggro, knows that you're going to end up getting a hand of all the wrong stuff. You're going to get
those copper cogs really can screw you because they have no defense, just like any other item. There's no defensive value on them.
Absolutely. And worse yet, it's a blue that you're going to pitch. You're going to see it late game, when you have less life and you may need to block. That's why I think it's so important to utilize them as effectively as possible. The plus side is always, it's a blue. You can always pitch it for something, but that's also one of the downsides to Puffin. With Dash IE, I would play maybe 2 items and then my starting item. So my chance of hitting the non-block was very, very low in the list. And I never felt the need to run D-Reacts or run anything but a 3-block, essentially. This list, so I'm looking on my phone, so I got to kind of get in close to see what we got going on here. Again, it has all the bones of a phenomenal mech deck, and it's hard to go wrong. I think you could take this to an Armory, and you'd still have a decent time because you're playing all the good boost cards. I mean, mech's core strength is the boost ability. That's where so much value is derived, that everything has go again. And until you venture into another class and see, go again's kind of hard to get a hold of sometimes, you don't really appreciate how easy mech has it for that. On the flip side, you do burn your deck down to nothing, but that's also where I think her strength lies, is that her optimal build, I don't think, has to rely on boost to get go again. I think you can get enough golden cogs to give your attacks +1 or 2 and go again a lot of times if you build it right.
Gotcha.
So again, a sweet list and kind of the ideal list. I'd love to see this with a Hanabi Blaster. I've been looking at all the mechs with some of these new cards that generate cogs just to see if I can take advantage of the action points generation or anything like that. But so far, she seems to be the best for the cogs. So,
Matt, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so I see what they're trying to do with the golden cog generation from the Zeppelin, right? The Zeppelin is essentially your 2 for 6, 2 for 5, 2 for 4, go again, because it's meant to be, what is it, on hit, tap a cog that's untapped and make a golden cog. Yeah, there we go. So I see it. It's a little tricky. It's not exactly as tricky, right? It's one of those things where somebody can kind of bait you into tapping your cogs, but really you're probably just going to tap your cogs as you're going to tap your cogs, and people know that, or they'll just cover it all the way up if they can. So it is heavily reliant on hits. This deck seems like it would be okay into a mostly aggro matchup or a mostly aggro meta. It looks like it goes fast. It looks like it has okay numbers. And having, I mean, you may not activate Puffin's ability, but having a handful of boost cards, I mean, you are still just going to go attack with go again, attack with go again, attack with go again, attack with go again. So
now does this card say on hit you can tap a cog to make a golden cog?
Yeah, when this hits a hero, so not on hit, it's a hero. So if you're looking at allies or things like that, it does change the dynamic. And then it says you may tap a cog you control. If you do, create the golden cog token, and then twice per turn instant, tap a cog, it gets +1. So it can technically be up to an 8 for 2 if, and then on hit, threaten a golden cog.
Well, that's an important distinction, right? Because if you go to Cogworks Dovetail, it says, I believe it says when this hits.
I believe you're right. I believe you're right.
Right, and so especially with, we're going into a meta where we have a lot of gravy bones as well. And I know having all
Cogworks Dovetail says when it hits a hero.
It does also say when it hits. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, but still, those are important distinctions, right? It's the difference.
For sure. I mean, these are all breakpoint attacks that pump themselves. So having an on hit's a very, very good thing.
I would think, Jacob, if we were to make a list with you for you, I would think that this would be closer to what you would want to do. I know it's not quite as set up like a traditional like Pistol Dash or like even like a Tech Lovison or a Nitro Mech Max. But I mean, if we're just speaking strictly from, I'm going to pull out my Fun Police badge, I would think this would be more fun and have a much better time into an aggro meta like ours,
We got to get a Fun Police badge printed now. We're going to have to do that. The Fun Police.
So I used to say about the Commander's Rules Committee. Whenever they would say, we're just trying to make the game more fun for everybody, it's like, all right, you guys are literally the Fun Police.
So what would you like to do from here? Those are kind of the versions that that I have evaluated and have shuffled up, have played. Not on Shuffle Up and Play because I'm not that cool, but those
not yet.
Those are the ones that that I've gotten to kind of play around with. Little variations here and there. I've tried some Talishar versions of like messing around with trying to make it. I always seem to make the joke that I want to transform every mech I can into either Tech Levasan or the Nitro Mechanoid because I just feel like that's the pinnacle of being a mech. And Max was falling short on that, so. Maybe there's a way to do it with Puffin in some capacity. I kind of figured like, those cards, well, Tech Levasan is very specific-ish for himself because it's Evo related. Doesn't mean you probably couldn't do it with another hero, but it probably is not as efficient. But the Nitro Mechanoid, the big thing with it is you'd have to have hyperdrivers. So, even if I wanted to jokingly say try to put a Nitro Mech into one of these, you have to somehow have those hyperdrivers to also look at trying to do a Puffin in that capacity. So, I know you sent me a deck, Robert. Do we want to maybe begin looking at that and talking through some of the interesting bits of it? Because
if I could even preface a little bit, so we did send you 2 lists, right, Robert? I think you did send both lists over. So we did send you a Puffin list if you would like to look at Puffin. if your Jacob overall goal is to play Nitro Mech, we do have a list for you.
That is
Okay, hold
true.
on.
That is true.
Let me see if I can
And
get this other one pulled up here because I don't know which ones I got. Okay. Well, I see two names here. One that starts, it says Can Dance or Cadence, maybe. And then the other
yeah,
one
it's
looks,
Candace, but yeah, yeah.
okay. Dude. Which one do you want? Do you want Candace or Dude?
Well, let's do Candace. That's Puffin, so we can go over Puffin first.
Okay.
But I do want to touch on that dude list because that is my Nitro Max list. I hadn't seen the equipment that came out and been super conscious of it from the Armory deck, and that just made me. I saw it and was like, I have to put a Max list together right now because like the puffer jacket, holy moly, that is something special. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Sure, sure.
Now, Puffin though, I did spend a good couple afternoons obsessing over this list, doing
Okay.
some play testing, trying some things out. You will set up a board state with this list. It will be ideally a gold or 2 and 5 golden cogs. You'll have that semi-regularly with this, and then the build up to it, you'll have turns with 2 golden cogs, but you'll very, very rarely not have something on your board. I will also hazard. I did start having kind of. I foresaw a vision of a brute having a field day with this deck. So I will caution against that. I don't know what I'm going to do against brute yet, especially if they run all of their good item cards that interact with that kind of stuff. I'm kind of scared of it, but we'll get there eventually. As a brute lover, we'll get there eventually. But that is something I will caution about because you do have just a bunch of stuff on your board. Now I will say, as far as golden cogs, if a brute takes your golden cog, let them have fun with it. They're not going to do anything with it. So you'll be fine at the end of the day. But this list, I started brewing and I put in a mixture of new cards from the set and a handful of boost cards that I thought would be good. As you see, the equipment now, none of it takes advantage of boosting, and that's kind of the tell of whether or not there's going to be a lot of boost. There is still a little bit of boost in this deck, and that is just for the early turns when maybe you're not turned on. If you don't want to break your gold yet from Crown of Dominion, you don't want to use Poly yet, because I will say even the bot knows that when Poly comes out, you have to attack Poly. You can't let a Puffin player have free crank every single turn. It's just too good. So save it for when you need it.
It seems that Poly is pretty much
card.
a one-turn use, maybe two-turn, if
For
they
sure.
don't pay attention to, or if they are paying attention to it.
I will say
Nice to
against
just kind of eat up an attack too.
well, for sure, it does eat up an attack, and against like a Kano player, maybe they may be not able to deal with Poly in a timely manner. So that would be another case to really kind of get that out early and jam it. But
Hell, even
that's
Guardian
for a later
was
date.
another example, because Guardian will have to waste a pretty
Yeah.
tall attack on it. So
For sure, and maybe set a turn up to do it. So that would be sweet as well. Just going down the list, I think there's maybe 18 to 21 blues, maybe pushing 24. So, like I said, I hadn't looked at this set a ton. I took kind of a break from the set. I've got a little one on the way, and I took some time off to save up some money. This is kind of one of my first decks that I've looked at building since I got back into it. So I may be a little rusty, but
you got
pretty happy
the
with it so
Cloud
far.
Skiffs. I see those are pretty fun cards. 1 for 5 with a cog gets +1 or go again. So it's either a 1 for 6 or a 1 for 5 go again. That seems pretty solid.
And I'll touch on some of the cards I know for a fact are a little bit different from the other lists that you've seen. Cards like Goldwing Turbine, which is a 2-cost, I think, in a Rainbow playset. Yes, that card. It's a 2-cost pump, which is not great, but the fact that it makes a golden cog, period, a lot of times means that it's going to generate you a card in hand. So that kind of ups the value a little bit of it.
Because you're leveraging once the cog gets created, then you can crank it, and if it's the second time you cranked, you're getting a card.
Absolutely, you're drawing that card. So that in combination with like the copper cogs, a common hand I saw. You'll notice in this list, I think I'm running 9 copper cogs, and I debated on how that feels as far as like an item set. I've never been shy of going full tilt with this kind of stuff. So like even in my max list, I always ran 9 hyperdrivers. Before there was a way to really take a ton of advantage of the blue ones, I still was finding ways to kind of utilize them, and it just was how I prefer to do it. Just like I said with my mech decks, if it's suboptimal, but it's what I want to do, and they're all mech, that's just how I like to build it. Yeah, so even a card like this, Expedite, I said there's a couple boost cards in here, and they're really just Expedite, Fast and Furious, cards that kind of capitalize on having a few more items in your list. And these are things that I took from my Dash.io building. Fast and Furious, while it's not super common you're ever going to boost it away, if you happen to, case Ross, best case is a 0 for 4 that has natural go again, which, like I said, in the early stages of the game, you maybe aren't going as wide or using cogs to give your stuff go again. So having a backup plan to go a little bit wider is nice. And that's what I want to do as a mech, is go wide, deal a lot of damage as fast as possible. So,
well, and it could also help with allies, so you can wipe out a couple of different allies if you're stuck in the scenario where you have to clear board state.
Sure. Especially in, Prism seems to really be getting kind of a good suite of cards to make her just super hard to deal with for low aggro decks. So
I have a love for this
This
card,
is also
by the way.
one.
Pedal to the Metal.
Pedal to the Metal, I have to give credit to Matt for this one. So I had Heist in this list because I was testing against Belt Table's like AI dash deck. And I had included it because it's a Met card. It's a 2 for 5 that steals an item, and it fits well sometimes. I found in this, it's really only great for mech matchups, and I was looking for a card to replace it with, and Matt recommended this card. I think this beats out over a lot of other cards like Combustible Courier and your other kind of combat tricky mech cards, just because it gives any attack dominate, not necessarily an attack that has boost on it, which is the prohibition of a lot of mech cards. They all care about whether or not you've boosted. So that's also what kind of pushes out like Tekla Foundry Heart and Achilles Accelerator short of the AB. It's too unreliable when you don't have a ton of boost cards. So, but
Sure.
Pedal to the Metal is just sweet enough, and also fills that gap nicely of being a 2 cost with go against. You can go into a 1 cost after it with some of your cogs. That's a line of play I really, really liked. Or even better, doing something like playing Cog in the Machine, which is one of the cards I was mentioning earlier. Expedite, the other boost card, I think I'm running reds and blues of in this list. I might be running 3 reds and 2 blues of Expedite.
3 reds, 3 blues is what it looks like in this current list.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that honestly is just an on hit that once somebody sees the power of it, they're going to have to interact with your 0 for 1 almost every time, which feels super good. Especially when they know that you might get to drop a copper cog out of your hand for free, crank and go up an action point. Then you play Cog in the Machine, make 2 cogs, crank both of them, go up to 3 action points with 3 cogs on board ready to tap for whatever you want. It's just such a... It made me think of the Nitro Mech, honestly, because it's a really easy and effective way to generate action points. A thing I will say, running 9 blue cogs, you will have a ton of hands where you have 2 cogs, which a lot of times is kind of scary late game, but I found most of the time it's one play one, and use that to do your other attacks or whatever. This isn't a deck I want to block in a ton, but it is a deck that blocks efficiently enough for on hits that really matter. Something I want to touch on too is the... Go ahead.
The Sky Skimmers. You want to talk about that one real quick?
Yeah, so Sky Skimmer, is that a 0 for 4 or a 1?
Yeah, so
0
once
for 4?
once per turn instant, tap a cog you control. This gets +1 or go again.
So there's a suite of these cards that are like, essentially, in my mind, me and Matt had talked about this a little bit too when we were brainstorming. They're essentially this set's version of a 0 to 60 of a zipper hit. These 0 for 4s that can have go again. The plus side of being able to pump itself up though is special, and it is a little bit more of a hoop to jump through, but they're high power cards. I mean, this is exactly what Mech wants to do, and it's kind of a nice spin on it too. For some of my trepidations about this set, the more I've messed with it and played with it, I'm pleasantly surprised with how these cards perform. I mean, this is a great
cards like these are really nice too when they are like your puff and draw, because if you have like an available cog and you slap this down, it's better than just not boosting a 0 to 60, right? You can turn this into a 0 for 5 or a 1 for 6.
For sure. And you don't melt your deck down. You know what I mean? You never have to worry about. I mean, in Dash, some of my best games were just like, my next hand was it. That's all I had, but I got there. So this doesn't really ever have to worry about that, and it's a super nice feeling. It does also still behoove me though to like 4 cog in the machine. I almost always have to put it on the bottom, just because it feels so good. And that card is an absolute all-star. Cog in the Machine is a must-have. I considered this card in Max just because it's go up an action point. And Puffin, this card is
it's a new Drone of Brutality, kind of.
Dude, this card is pay 1, gain an action point, draw a card if you're puffing and it's all you're doing this turn, and then put it on the bottom. Like, what more could you want out of a Met card? This is the bee's knees. I'm in love with this card.
In 10
High,
felt table
high
games, I've
octane
never
is high
wanted
octane a
Tactical.
valid answer on what I could want more from a mech card?
Yes.
Well, you can want it. We all want it, and you can play it, can't you? It's still LL format, but
You can play it
don't
on
have to
the
get into that right now. Yeah, that's something
I
else.
digress. I'm sorry.
So real quick, one last thing I want to touch on in this list, and you have to try this out on, just test it online a couple times, see what you think about it. This thing hums, dude. The damage isn't super overwhelming. It's not like you're going 0 for 4, 1 for 5, 2 for something, and then 3 for or 2 for 10 or whatever. You're not going to have those turns, but you will have damage bursts and tons of effects and weird interactions and overpower and a little bit of disruption. The equipment for this deck is, I hadn't looked at the price. Just touch on that for a second. On Crown of Dominion,
580 bucks supposedly is the
well, and the crown's like what, 140 bucks of that. The tunic is quite a bit of that as well. So all in all, you could put a budget list of this together and still be doing pretty good. This deck is low to the ground enough that you don't even really need tunic. I just didn't feel like
you take out $300 just by taking out crown and tunic. This could be a $250
and honestly,
deck.
There is a couple boost cards in this list, so you could very well put in Teklo Heart, which I know has come down a little bit as well.
About 20
and then
bucks
you get
last
Battle
I
Worn.
looked.
That's amazing. Then you get Battle Worn 2, and when you do happen to have a boost card, if you want, you can roll an extra resource out of it. So it's almost always worth it if you don't have a tunic. The gun as well is kind of a tricky one. I looked at the other weapon from the set quite a bit, the one that costs 2. It just seemed like it didn't fit into the curve well as far as wanting to use most of the cards in my hand, if not all of them. This deck does tend to have a card left over every once in a while, which is pretty sweet. A lot of 5-card hands plus card draw just is super powerful. So I put it down there in my baby just for testing, just to see what kind of effects I could use with it, and it never felt as good as the other one. Lubricate as an instant, I also am a big fan of. It allows a ton of plays where in this list it's like I'm going to play a pump card, and then I'm going to play an attack, and I'm going to pump that attack, then I'm going to lubricate, and I'm going to send another attack that also has go again or pops an equipment. And seeing some of the interactions with that equipment destruction is super nice. Also being able to just pop like an action that's defending for 3 or a D-react that's defending for 4 and take that defense off of that combat chain is sweet, off that link. So big fan of that.
And just looking at this list too, one of the really cool interactions it looks like you can do and this is me as our resident Johnny combo player, I would say, is being able to park that cog in the machine in Arsenal with a tunic pitch live. Means you pull that tunic pitch, you play that card, you crank 2 cogs, you immediately draw a card, you had a 5-card hand. It's reminiscent of like Art of War and a 5 deck.
Go up an action point and just be ready to roll.
Yeah,
so
man.
Sweet. It is so sweet.
I never thought about trying to put that in an arsenal. I mean, that is an interesting concept to stick it in the arsenal, and then, like you said, you would have a 5-card hand. Your intellect would be 5. You do have to go through a little bit of hoops, right? But there's nothing stopping
you. No, I mean, if you have a resource, I'd pitch an extra red to that thing just to kick the turn off, because it gives you so much back. Like I said, you crank both of the cogs it makes, so you gain an extra action point, which allows you to spare one of your cog taps, especially for the ones that say like, once per turn +1 or go again. It allows you to really roll those into like a kind of tall turn where you're sending 13 or 14 damage in kind of a weird way that you also control the timing of, you know what I mean? And again, a lot of times you'll tap your cogs out if you know you're going to get them back. Hogwarts Dovetail, again, all-star of a card, especially if you can generate an extra action point or give it go again. So, but those are kind of the all-stars of it. The higher dollar ones like Palantir Aeronaut and the yellow, I can't remember what the name of it is. Yep, Jolly. Yep, those are both also great cards. They provide a noticeable spike in the damage of the deck, so I feel like
it's worth
pretty
it.
important. Yeah,
it's worth it. We talk about like budgets and stuff, and this is one of those things where it's like, Flesh and Blood is not, it doesn't have to be an incredibly expensive game, but it also is not, it's not Pokemon, right? You're not building
For sure.
world champion decks for $60, $70. You do have to invest a little bit into it. And, but that's always kind of been, and both of you guys can really speak to this because you guys have both played Mech for a long time, but Mech has kind of been one of the cheaper classes by far. And it's really I think it's a great starter class for people just for that reason. You can get into it. It's all really class contained. Aside from a few notables, it's really not super expensive. They have heroes at every power level. You can play janky versions of them. You can play all the way up to highly tuned competitive world champion lists. Like you do what you want. So
I would concur. I mean, you could have originally got into Mech for fairly cheap because no one cared about anything. And I am shocked to see that the Jolly Bludgers holding a $16 price tag and even a $10 Palantir Aeronaut. Those are still actually, from a Mech perspective, outside of equipment, those are actually some of the higher expensive cards that exist for
sure.
just straight Mechanologist. So I was just doing a quick search on TCG Player. So for every Mechanologist card, priced high to low, excluding, I'm just going to say for just Majestics, I'm going to exclude, well, no legendaries too. But most legendaries are going to be equipment. So, okay, whatever. The extended Palantir Aeronaut is $38, but that's an extended art. Construct Nitro Mechanoid, holy crap, this thing is $30 for one of those. Holy moly. I was buying those for $5 a piece back when nobody gave a crap about Dynasty, man. So pat on my back, I guess. But anyway, so that's a fairly expensive card. Twin Drive has natively been inexpensive. That's $27. Outside of that, Heist, which you get one in the max deck, is $21. So that surprises me that card's holding that kind of value.
There's only one in the max deck?
You do only get one in the max deck. So you actually...
You get one high. Okay.
Yeah. You still have to get the others. Then
Questionable
outside of
decision.
that, you have Singularity, which is specific, pretty much exclusively to Teklevossen.
Yeah.
Then Jolly Bludger, and then you're down to Palantir Aeronaut. And then you got Pulse Wave Harpoon, and then everything else is sub $6. Like that is the extent of the hyper high-end cards in Mech.
Sure.
Excluding equipment. I mean, I'm not talking about the $70 or $60 adaptive plating. Hell, even it's funny. The Treasure Cogworks Tinkering is less than a standard Bright Lights adaptive plating. That is wild.
No kidding.
Tinkering, by the way, sweet card.
Yeah, very good card.
Super good. Yeah.
I got to learn how to use it better because when it blocks, it destroys itself. But the defend piece gives it the golden cog. So I don't know, that it definitely can smooth out something.
Yeah, I mean, it just allows you to full tap.
Unless you're facing Kano.
Well,
Kano's
Kano's his own beast. Yeah.
I sideboarded
mine.
so piss poor
Third
against
blood.
him. Oh my god. We should have recorded that game, buddy. We should have recorded that
at least
stinking game. Oh,
48 damage wildfire turn.
Yeah. Did you watch the video I sent you where DM Armada was doing a review of that turn? I guess Kano did Kano things during one of the Pro Tour Singapore pieces, and did you get to see that?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to watch that. I was working all day.
It's wild. It's damn near identical to what you did.
It's very funny. I remember one of the things that really sold me on Kano, and funny backstory, especially now that Robert's here. I forced Robert to play Kano to vicariously learn how to play it because I was scared to look like an idiot. So I thought I would sacrifice him to the wolves and make him learn how to play it. And through doing that, I was like, well, I'll look up combos and I'll teach him how to do it. I'll help him out. I know what I'm doing in this game.
Yeah.
And
don't forget, your first Kano was Brainstorm Kano. Okay.
Yes, it was.
So we all have to start at the bottom and work our way up. Yes, for sure. You did. We all have to. It's just the way it goes.
That's right. I missed out on the arcane, pre-wildfire Kano, so I had to just get the shittiest version of Kano I possibly could to try it.
For sure. I will say now too, with this new set, the balance of justice, is it finally good again? And can I use it now that the books are gone? Because I was pretty bummed out when the books left that I had just pulled one and was like, now I don't have anything to use this for except like Blood Rush Fellow, which I love. So I'm curious to see if a lot of these decks are going to be drawing more than enough cards. Does balance say you have to draw 2 cards during an action phase?
Destroy this, draw
Yeah.
a card, activate this ability only if an opponent has drawn 2 or more cards this turn.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I
maybe not
still,
always.
I'm a madman. I still want to run it in a Cilio because you can mind warp somebody, and as long as they have 3 cards, you can break it and get an extra card. Or I do plan on running it in Valdo when she comes out. There are more than enough ways to like make somebody wheel their hand.
Which is crazy. What are we doing?
Did you
We're
want to
doing
come on
wheels
camera
now?
and say hi? The wife is
Doing
standing
wheels.
currently between where I would be looking at everybody on the screen, and she's just watching all the craziness that we're doing. She says hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you need anything specific, or just hanging out? She's just hanging out. So.
Sweet.
You will notice a master cog in this. Feels good. Love it. No explanations. Master cog. Love it.
No explanations needed, though.
But it is also, I mean, what, Mastercog's not very expensive anymore, is it?
I think it's what $60 rainbow foil.
$70, something like that. Yeah. Right around there. Right in the pocket.
Holy moly, it's
around that Wheel of
$70.
Arcana spot. Yeah. Sounds about right.
That's an interesting increase, because a year ago that thing was $30.
Listen, man, this is I don't know if I want to make this a whole discussion, but this is where I feel like Fable should be in the pocket right here, where it's good, it's not necessary. If you are absolutely min-maxing, it may not even make the cut. But it's still one of those, like, I think it's one of those cool, I get to flex a little bit when I play it, and it does something fun. But I don't think it should be something as powerful as I get to make a gold whenever I pitch this. I think that is so highly playable. I've never thought that the Fable should be playable. I thought that their rarity should drive their value, and I thought they should be okay. You know what I mean? Hearts okay, eyes really good. But
my dude, did you know that the mech has the highest ceiling of Fableds able to be played? Because you could literally run a deck, I shit you not, with Master Cog, Heart, Eye, what was I just was you damn it, the heavy hitters,
the Deathmatch Arena. Uh-huh.
And then what was the other one? The Tropodani, because it's for pirate.
Yep.
So you could have 5 Fableds in your deck. You could literally have a hand of nothing but Fableds.
If I think right, I think Lexi can have the most.
Really?
I think so, because Lexi also has access to Plague Hive and Korsha.
That may be true.
Maybe we should think about that the next time we revisit Aria.
I'm going to asterisk this. I'm not counting the Command and Conquer, by the way, the Fabled. I'm not counting that one.
Fair.
But yeah, Great Library is Arc Knight. Yeah, that's Runeblade. Assassin and Ranger. Wizard. Chaos. Elemental.
Wheel of Arcana, awesome.
Will of Arcana, also sweet. Also,
Sweet
not too expensive. I like that.
Yeah, that's replaced my Eye in Kano because I am in fact broke bitch. So that's my little bit of bling right there.
Although, dude, I'll tell you what. Like you said, when I'm min-maxing that list, it is a whiff in Kano, and
it is.
Sometimes it's on the chopping block.
By the way, I'm going to throw this in because apparently I'm seeing some spoiler stuff from a different side chat. Their Fabled package must have been revealed for some event coming up, and the playmat looks like it's a ninja with throwing daggers. So I'm going to imagine Flick Knives is being reprinted because, in my opinion, they wouldn't put that as a mat if they weren't doing that. So one of the reprints that they might be talking about in Super Slam, wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's a Flick Knives. But that's just a theory. So anyways, back on the deck tech stuff.
I mean, I think we've sufficiently covered Puffin as far as, I mean, we saw Robert's list. Mine's really not too far off. It runs less boost cards, but it's, you know, I think it's fine. So I would say either, Jacob, if you want to take a crack at brewing while we're here, or if you are still very much in love with the Nitro Mech, we could move on to that Max deck.
Yeah, let me show you one of the options. I think this is close to one of the ones I had tried. No. See, there's so many different versions I've tried to play around with. This looks close. Yeah. Well, this one actually runs hyperdrivers. I may have just actually made it without actually being in Talishar or whatever, or in Fabre, because I do that quite a bit, where I just kind of randomly make a deck in real life and then never really think about putting it digitally, because I don't know, I just still enjoy like physically playing with the cards, even if it's just like a playing against a mirror kind of a thing.
I put everything on Fabre so I can bust it out like a Pokédex at the shop.
Yeah.
Check this out. Look what I'm working on, boys.
This is actually probably it. This is closer to what I had. So Max V1, I think this is it. So we'll start with this and then we'll jump into your list, because I kind of can give you an idea of what I had at one point. So this would be pretty standard for Max. It would have Max as your hero with Banksy. We did the Cogworks base legs, at least that's the one I was trying, and it's basically to have that instant to get an extra action point if you really needed. I wasn't necessarily using any, you'll see there's no Evos in there, so even though it's a base, I wasn't really leveraging that. I picked Galvanic Bender because that, or the permanent, gives you the +1. Technically, I guess I had this in here just because it was the option for the head that made the most sense. Plus it has temper, so you could, I guess, in theory, use it one time and then still be able to not blow it up. So it's kind of like a one block without, not losing it, and then Tekla Foundry Heart. Got a lot of crankshafts, 3 reds, 3 blues, 3 Fast and Furious, 3 jump starts. These are, if hyperdrivers are out, they cost less. This had the 2 maximum velocities in it, pulse wave harpoons, which is, pretty much trying to force them to block, so you can get some additional value out of it. So again, all these have boost, and all these are mech cards. Recharge was something kind of interesting, putting a steam driver or a steam counter on hyperdrivers, also while giving some sort of bonus or boost. And that would then give me, the +4, +1, +3 kind of a thing. So it had the, kind of making one attack better while trying to keep the hyperdrivers around a little bit longer, just so that you could really try to get the Nitro Mech out. Again, Rev Up is another card where it costs less if you have a hyperdriver. So really it's a 2 for 6 is basically what it reads in the deck. T-Bone, pretty much, in my opinion, a staple at this point for Mech, because it just says you're going to try and get 3 of these, or somehow 4, and try to wipe out a piece of equipment that they have because they don't want to blog with it. Throttle, kind of an old school fun card for me back in the day from Arcane, and this is just it's a big old 2 for 6 with boost. Twin drive, double boost, 0 to 60, zipper hit. Big Bertha, I think Matt, you were pretty high on this one. When it's banished, put a steam counter on a hyperdriver. And then the last 2 major items that were in here were Supercell, which was a recent addition coming out in Part the Mistveil, and it cost X to play. This is the put X steam counters on X hyperdrivers you control. So if you pay 3, which is the preferred, so you'd pitch a blue with this, you get to create a hyperdriver with those 3. And then if X is 3 or greater, I get to shuffle the Construct Nitro Mechanoid from my Banished Zone back in my deck. So if I've accidentally boosted it away, I have an opportunity to bring it back. To me, kind of super important. I don't know if your deck has it. I actually didn't look at your deck just yet.
Yes, so I do run it. One quick note, something I discovered through playtesting, you have to have 3 hyperdrivers to pay 3 into it. You can only pay as much into it as hyperdrivers you have to target for the first part of its effect. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, okay. It's optimal if you have at least 3 hyperdrivers. I learned that earlier when I only had 2.
Oh, Okay, I guess that is something, because I have not tried to play too much on Talishar with that. Maybe that's something I haven't ran into. So, okay, interesting. Good to know. And then Magnetic Shockwave. This is just a fun card all around. I love the art. I love the theory of what it does, and it can really, really mess with somebody if you get this at a good time. Defending hero must defend Magnetic Shockwave with X equipment they control or X number of times you've boosted. So boost 3 times and put this in. They get 3. Boost 4 times and get this in. I don't know if that's really even possible, but they'd have to block with everything they have left. So combining this with T-Bones obviously makes it pretty stupid, because now you're like, hey, T-Bone, and then boost. Well, technically T-Bone plus Magnetic Shockwave would be 4, because you've boosted once, boosted twice, and then if you have 2 blues left, you can Magnetic Shockwave, which means that they would actually have to defend with 2 pieces of equipment they control, but it doesn't necessarily destroy it, unlike, well, I guess technically the only reason it would be destroyed is if you're using like a tunic which has blade break. You're hoping to get their blade break to trigger is what you're trying to do. So,
or their mask, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So things like
Stay away from my
Gigawatt,
mask
Spring
momentum.
Leak, Tekla Pounder, these are just kind of some random sideboards. But that's where this deck kind of was.
Some of the all-stars, yeah, okay. Yeah, so this looks like it's definitely more focused on boosting, which is totally fine. Again, the core mechanic of a deck. And something I just realized, I don't think you'll see in my list even max velocities or twin drives, which is ironic because they'll probably make their way back into it, because you do want to boost a lot more in max than you do in Puffin, obviously. But it still feels like you're not boosting quite as much in max as you're going to be boosting in dash.
That could be
and
a
I think
good
that's-
switchboard option. You know what I mean? Like it could be a good small
for
package
sure.
to kind of move the Nitromech stuff out and move in the Max V stuff to just kind of race other aggro decks when you don't have a
Especially if you're finding, if you're up against like a ton of item hate, that's a super good option, is to go full tilt into the boosting, add in max Vs, maybe sideboard in a Navi Blaster, you know what I mean? So, saying. But again, this looks like a sweet max deck. How many constructs are you running in this?
This one had all 3. Yep.
All 3. Okay, I like that. I was on 2 for a long time. I'm recently on 3. I still kind of teeter back and forth, but
It still blocks for 3. That's the big thing to me, is it's better, in my opinion, than having just a raw item. And in this case, you'll notice that this version of this deck, I want to call out very specifically, has no hyperdrivers, no physical hyperdrivers. And the reason I attempted to try to go that route in this particular deck is because I felt like it was easy enough to create the virtual hyperdrivers, so to speak, through Max, and that was why I was looking at trying to accomplish with this particular deck. So
that's a bold decision, I would say.
But it is
think
heavy
you're gonna
reds.
find-
There's a shit ton of reds.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You can afford to go heavier red if you run physical hyperdrivers because they generate their own resources. Something you'll find too is, even though Tekla Foundry Heart works a lot better in this list than it does in Puffin, his new equipment piece, the Puffer Jacket, is an absolute game changer. Just giving him static ability, everything gets an extra steam counter, is unreal. Letting you just crank at will, you know what I mean?
Let's look at your deck here in 1 second. I think the final thing I'll say with this is I came at this with the approach of more of a dash, i.e. the original, look. I kind of, even though there are not a lot of newer cards, and yeah, there's a little bit of cards from some of the expansions and even the Armory deck level, this I treated as close to a dash, i.e. blank text box hero, or you start with an item in play, just to see if I could make it work, because there was a period of time where I was even running Construct Nitro Mechanoid because Dash is on the damn card, and I was just running Dash IE as the Construct Nitro Mechanoid. So,
hey man, I behoove you to look at hyperdrivers for Dash IO then, because that's something that I wanted to make happen. I thought Dash IO with physical hyperdrivers could be sweet. The only downside is she does not give them crank, which I think is something that Matthew also enlightened me of when I was brainstorming this idea. Because it seems sweet, right? I mean, she flashes them out, but her not being able to crank them, that's the critical part for Max. I mean, that's why when you look at my deck tech, what you'll see is I really focused on the hyperdrivers.
it's Dude, right?
I leaned into that super heavy. Yeah, Dude will be that list.
We're gonna jump right on into yours. So.
Great listening.
Okay. So let's see here. Yeah. This is worth noting. This being a base head caught me by surprise. That is so sweet because it allows me. I replaced the legs. I used to run the Cogworks legs just like you did, but I've also run the Evo breaker legs. I forget what they're called, mock breakers.
Mhm.
They interact with the hyperdrivers in a way that they supposedly changed the rules for specifically, which is when you banish, you never banish a hyperdriver when you put one underneath it when you play the Evo equipment.
It gives you
You
more
place it
attacks in the long
underneath
run.
it.
Yeah.
Well, you can put the token hyperdrivers under the Evo equipment because it doesn't banish them.
Yes.
doesn't
And
Yeah.
then
change them
pull
from
them
the arena.
out. Yes, which is super sweet. But the headpiece is really nice because you're running 9 hyperdrivers. You've got reds, yellows, and blues. So if you get them in your hand, that lets you filter them out for extra temper. And the ideal play is using it at least once with a hyperdriver to get the card draw. Block for 2 with it, and then keep it around until you play the Evo onto it so you can use it. Because your Nitro Mech has to have all equipment and a weapon and 3 hyperdrivers. So
Which is why
if you get
playing against
sloppy,
Jarl is going to be a pain in the ass
yes,
because the
oh,
negative. Yep.
such a
Yep.
nightmare. But
Well,
again,
and-
perfect time to say, pull the mech out, put in max Vs, and let's just run it. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Let's just go
sure.
full tilt. Let's see
You
who can
pivot
kill
your
who
game
first.
plan with the hero you're going against.
Yeah.
For sure. Tinkerings, or no, that's not Tinkerings, is it? What was the arm piece? The
You
Cogworks
had
base arms?
Cogworks base arm. Yep.
Yep. So these are sweet. I love the entire Cogworks base set. I think there's a card that interacts with the proto set, Matt, and you guys might know, playing Technoboss, but Fabricate. So that lets you grab the proto set specifically. But I think these arm pieces outside of Fabricate are the best base equipment for Mechanologists. The
So you
new
talked
equipment
about
from the Armory
Puff.
deck. Oh my gosh, dude! Temper 2 off to a strong start, and then giving every hyperdriver. Does it say non-token?
Non-token.
Yeah, so
Every
giving your
non-token
9,
hyperdriver with
yes,
additional
giving
stand
your
power.
physical. Oh, dude, it's something special.
Gives your non-token hyperdrivers basically free crank. It's sick.
Yes, it's unreal, and you just get it. It's just always like that, which is so nice. The other thing that's worth special mention is those legs. The new legs are insane. They're absolutely insane. You
Yeah,
run
they're
9
Valiant
hyperdrivers,
Dynamos.
you're gonna banish them, and yeah, you get. We were talking about it earlier. It's like there's so many ways to manipulate your hyperdrivers that you get a ton of value out of this card. And honestly, legs have kind of been one of Mech's weaker spots. I mean, Achilles accelerators are a phenomenal option, especially in arcade matchups. But if you build Mech like I do, which is all Mech cards, you don't ever really need its effect. You know, best case, it's an extra action point because you're never missing your boosts.
So this version has
this-
exclusively all mech cards from what I just quickly saw.
Yes, 100%. There are a couple cards I tried in this list that I very quickly took out. I tried Construct Bankbreaker, and in my very first test play game, I was able to get into the Construct pretty early. So then those were all dead draws after that. It was a worthless card. Same thing with Clamp Press. It's just seldom worth it for the game plan. So I did include 3 boom grenades. So 3 boom grenades, 9 hyperdrivers. That's pretty much the entire item package. The boom grenades, again, give you an option to crank so you can use Max's ability because you are going to be doing his ability as often as possible as well. Your turn cycles for this are going to look like, you know, you've played out a hyperdriver, you've made one maybe, you've found a way to give it an extra counter, and you're keeping them around. Then your next turn, you boost a card, you gain 2 resources, you use that to make another hyperdriver, you know, crank it. Now you can swing your wrench, and you just get a ton of small value over the course of the game. I find a lot of times with this deck, I have more resources than I kind of know what to do with. I have to let some fizzle, but this also gets the mech together pretty efficiently. So I've tried to use cards that capitalize on hyperdrivers, especially with like Blessing of Ingenuity. Whenever you use a hyperdriver from under an Evo or under your Nitro Mech, it gets destroyed. So Blessing lets you get all those back. And that's pretty sweet because you just get the free resources, you get the crank, you get to keep going with your little engine that you have with Max. The sidestep for losing high octane, because that is supremely critical for this. And the reason why I run physical hyperdrivers is because of system reset. System reset lets you blink your physical hyperdrivers before you flip them into the mech to crank each one and go up in action points. So if you have 4 hyperdrivers out, 4 physical ones because you've used Blessing of Ingenuity, you know, you're kind of late into the game, you've transformed. that lets you blink all the non-token ones and crank them when they come down for action points, so then you can swing your mech. In one of my test games, I got the mech out and I was able to swing 3 times because I had a system reset in Arsenal from earlier, and then I drew into 1 my following turn. So it was like 5 overpower, 5 overpower, 5 overpower. The next turn it was like boost, 5 overpower, 5 overpower, 5 overpower, which against the bot, whatever, but against a player it would have been, I assume, pretty devastating.
So let's talk through this a little bit, because one of the things I wanted to kind of say is this list is in a weird way reminiscent of some -IO, some -IE. I've seen a lot of these cards. I mean, I would just say from a mech perspective, they're cards that I have seen in a lot of decks. Blessing of Ingenuity is like an absolute staple card that I used in my mech UPF decks because, again, it allows you to get your hyperdrivers back just in case you have boosted them away. I mean, there was a version I was trying to run at one point where I had, I think, the full rainbow of Blessing of Ingenuity, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, they block 3, so they were kind of making up for in some capacity, knowing that you have a bunch of these 0 block hyperdrivers.
Right, for sure. Yeah, Blessing of Ingenuity is great because it lets you get back your hyperdrivers from anywhere they weren't intended to go, or if you've just used them up, because you will use them up. You know, it's important to remember that when you attack with a boost card, it pulls a counter off a hyperdriver once per turn. So
I also have to point out this is a $90 deck. I mean,
yeah.
Robert,
do you want to point out the
$90?
Sure.
Like, come the fuck on, people. Like, it's cheap. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like,
make flushing cheap again.
So the Evos, right? These are kind of something that I feel like they're my special touch on, like, you know, I don't feel like I see them in a ton of different decks, especially these ones.
I've tried. I think we talked early about this, and I looked at trying this, but I don't. Explain to me how you believe these to really work. So I want to understand.
Well, I can do you better. I'll give you the ruling of how they work because I made double sure before I put this list together that these cards interact this way. So it's like rules number 12. You can go look it up. Is
so
when
which
they
one do you want me to
how
click on?
Click on the arms. I feel like the arms are a little bit better of an effect. They're the ones that I really chase after.
Okay, so for a zero red Evo arms instant, Mechanologist instant, if you have base arms equipped, which, just really quick looking, that means you're going to always be upgrading from Cogworks base arms. So if you have base arms equipped, transform it and X hyperdrivers you control, then equip this. If you do, the next time you'd be dealt damage this turn, prevent twice X. So using it once is 2 damage, 2 is 4 damage, 3 is 6 damage. Can you go to 4? So 4 is 8?
You can. You absolutely can. Because you can do this with non-token hyperdrivers and token hyperdrivers if you're so inclined. Because of the way transform is worded, transforming never leaves the battlefield. There's never anything getting banished, nothing's getting discarded or changed. There's no zone change from a transformation. They simply get tucked underneath another card. So you can then utilize those tokens. That's why it's important in a match list to have, in my opinion, physical token copies of all your hyperdrivers. I'd bring a stack of 10 of them, you know, just because you're going to have a board state with this list. Then you can utilize those, whether you use them as this equipment, which then says, the next part says what?
Whenever you boost an attack, you can destroy a card under this. If you do, the attack gets +2. So I have a technical question.
Slowing that down, right? Okay. So the hyperdriver, ideally you'll choose to use your non-token hyperdrivers from under this first, because destroy means what? It goes to the graveyard. So then you can Blessing of Ingenuity, the ones you've already used, back out and then utilize those to transform into the Nitro Mech, because this is still a Mechanologist arm piece. So you're still good to go to transform into the mech.
So will the base Cogworks be underneath this?
The base Cogworks will also be underneath this and available for pull from either this, or if you transform this into the mech with hyperdrivers and that arm piece underneath it, they can all be pulled out for the mech's attack, which was disgusting with High Octane, slightly less impressive now. But I think this is just it's your mid-game plan for before you get your mech out as you're kind of going through the pace of the game. It's also, this is great against Wizard. using these cards, tucking one of these in your arsenal and saving it with 3 hyperdrivers out for when they're going to like wildfire you, because you also control when you lose the hyperdrivers. After you crank them, if you're not boosting, you're not losing the counters. So you could really kind of metagame and say, hey, I could deal more damage, but I feel like a wildfire combo's coming. I'm going to sit on these 4 hyperdrivers with this card and just kind of bide me time until he tries to pull the trigger, play out super safe. And these are great. They come out of nowhere. Nobody really expects them. It's instant speed, so you can flash it out whenever you need to get that damage prevention.
You
And this
bait out a
one,
CNC pummel with those things.
you absolutely can have somebody come at you with that, and then okay, real quick, I'm going to flash this out. It's not a D-react. Gets around all that baloney. So these are very, very good cards. There are some serious downsides, and you'll notice there's only 2 of each in here, and that's because I don't want to see them. I want one when I need it. And if I get one out and equipped, you'll notice these are not bases. So my second one cannot be played onto the first one. So once you get it, it's essentially a red pitch that you're absolutely going to see again, which sucks. But for its effect and for what it's doing, hopefully we can kill them before that becomes a serious issue. You know what I mean?
You can clear these things out of your hand. You can play them and fizzle them. They won't equip. They won't eat up any hyperdrive.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. You can just burn them? Excellent.
Yeah,
I like that even more.
I believe so. If I remember the ruling right, I believe you can just play them, but they go right to the graveyard. It's the same way with trying to play an Evo when you have Teklovicin all equipped. It will play, it just won't equip. It won't go underneath. It'll just fizzle. It'll go right because there's nothing for it to transform onto.
So
for sure,
on this one,
that's a word of caution.
Yeah, on this one where it says whenever you boost, you can destroy a card under it. Shuffle 2 attack actions from your banish zone in your deck. What would you want to target with that? I mean, would you be pretty much just going after any kind of like boom grenades or?
Well, it's got to be. I think it has to be attacks. So I'd probably just be going after like pedal to the metal. Pretty much any of my boost attack, any of my red cards that I've already played or that I've accidentally boosted away, rather, just to get them back into the deck. Because while this one's not super fatigable, I mean, you are boosting a lot, right? So you still run the risk. You'll notice I only have, I think, red T-bones in there. I did have a rainbow set, but what I found was I kind of had to rebalance a little bit because my damage output was kind of low for what I was wanting to see, unless I got the mech out. And this still very much capitalizes on it. There are some easy swaps that you could make to kind of tune the power up a little bit if you wanted to lower the consistency, or especially if you wanted to pull the mech out and not lean so heavy into that.
If you pull those 2 mechs out, you put in 2 max
well.
Vs. Yeah, if you put in 2 max Vs, that's a target right there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Getting those extra max
Yeah,
Vs
I would say, tuck in your twin drives. But again, as soon as you start doing that stuff, you're increasing the cost of the deck quite a bit, at least with the twin drives. It's a super big cost factor, but max Vs aren't too bad right now. The Evo headpiece is actually the second choice. Originally, I was running the Evo Mockbreaker legs, which instead say you can pull a card from under this and make a Quicken token. I like that more than the headpiece, but I really like that new Battle Worn equipment that came out of the Armory deck. So I want to try that out and kind of get that time in the sun. But I wanted to keep my pacing as far as the damage prevention of my hyperdrivers, the way I can utilize them in the earlier game. By keeping those ratios kind of the same. Met X is also a card that I added kind of after the fact because that on hit it provides on a breakpoint. People are always going to be terrified. You're just going to drop a free hyperdriver, gain an extra action point, and do something nasty. So this is kind of a specialty on hit. It reminds me of like a Mauvrian Skies and Runeblade, where when people see it, it's like, do I really want to give him 3 rune chance for nothing? Especially on like a low cost attack. So that's kind of the thought behind that. And again, I had Heist in the list. Heist is okay because you can get your own hyperdrivers back, but you have so many other ways to do that it's like the 2 for 5 is a lot better when your opponent has items in their banner zone as well, I feel like.
So this charging station, did you want this in there for? I mean, there's a lot of good, but just curious your thoughts on it.
So between this card, the new headpiece and Blessing of Ingenuity, that's kind of the only card that interacts with hyperdrivers in the way that it does. Where doesn't that say if you have one in your graveyard, bring it back?
You're talking the headpiece?
Well, the headpiece says discard them, and then what does that say?
The next attack you boost this turn gets +3, and then you may shuffle a hyperdriver from your graveyard into your deck. If you do, gain a resource.
Yes.
Go again.
Yeah, so that's kind of a unique effect. It gives you a resource immediately. Yes. I thought, there's two of them in there. I saw it in the new deck, and I thought this effect seems pretty powerful. It seems like it has everything I want in a mech card, but I haven't used it a ton. I don't think I've seen it yet in playtesting, but I have relatively high hopes for it. I didn't want to jam up too much pump, though, because I also included 2 BIOS updates, which is also just kind of a mech pet card from forever, because it's just it's a
I love
ideologically
this
sweet card. Most of the time, it's +3. You know what I mean? But you want it to work, so we hope it works. And there are 12 items in this list, so
a 0 for 3 go again that
now,
blocks 3 is like the standard for being runnable. So the fact that it has
I will
another
say,
paragraph of
like,
text is kind of nice.
in Dash IO, this card is way cooler. Being able to see the future essentially and decide, do I even want to do this? Is so cool. But I think you'll find in this list, System Reset. Yeah, System Reset is really your big damage enabler. I mean, after you get set up, you want to have one of these tucked or come into one in pretty short order. A lot of people hate on yellows. I think yellow is the next best thing to blues as far as pitch is concerned. So I try not to sweat having too many yellows. You'll see a lot of yellows in my lists a lot of times. And again, I try to keep my curve pretty low. You'll notice in my Puffin deck, there's a couple of the 4 costs, maybe like 2 of the Golden Sky Wardens, and I didn't put in the new CNCs because they're 4 for 7s or whatever. And it's a powerful card and it's got a great effect and goes above and beyond even a CNC. But my heart always says a mech is low to the ground, as wide as possible. And you'll kind of see whispers of that even in my more setup-y lists like this one, where yes, you're not going 4 attacks wide, but you're using every card in your hand plus an extra card sometimes, and you're always using your ability, and you're always going all out and just staying interactive and having fun playing the game. Yeah, I think that's what's most important. So
yeah, I gotta rematch Jake and not Scoop.
yeah,
Listen, you have to,
we all
you
have those days.
force those games. You have to force wins in those games because watching him spaz out is so much fun. You need to unlock the ability to make that kid freak out and eat a card. It's so much fun. We watched him eat 2 Phoenix Flames? He's eaten 2 Phoenix Flames at this point.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's great.
Yeah, I think, like I said, if your heart is sold on Nitro Mechanoid, man, I think this is a great list to start with.
I have to say one more word of caution. Full transparency, I make all my lists myself. I pour through Fabrary, I build the decks. And this deck, as much as I love it and as good as I feel like it could be, I played 1 game on Talishar with it. I lost that game. Okay, so do not take anything from this as gospel. Okay, this is coming back to Max after a very, very long time. But I truly think that utilizing all the hyperdrivers, utilizing System Reset, because again, you're only going to have so many ways to get your action points. That's the whole idea of the Nitro Mech. You can build it all day long. If you only get to swing it once a turn, it's a lot of time and no equipment and no weapon for 5 damage, which is fine. But this is, I think, a great jumping off point, and you can fine tune it. You can figure out what works and even your own feel for it. You touched on a lot of those Dash IE staples I saw on your other list.
Oh yeah,
those are all. I mean,
we all remember
every
the starting
card
lineup, right? Like the starting lineup was 36 cards of 0 to 60, zipper hit, T-bone, and throttle, and that just.
I mean, that used to be the way I built a deck. It literally used to be, here's the stack.
Yep.
Well, you forgot the 5th card, Matt. It's max velocity.
That's right.
It goes in. It just goes in. Right.
That is. That's your starting 5. That's the Fab 5 lineup right there.
For sure. And then Twin Drive. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I think the Puffin deck's great too. If you want to be drawing cards and doing piratey stuff and yelling Avasti at people and doing that, I think Puffin's great. I think the 2 lists that you'd shown from the Discord, I think that they were okay. It certainly seemed like somebody put at least a little bit of effort into making those, I'm sure. But they just seemed like a good jumping off point as well. I don't think that anybody's really fine tune or crack the code on Puffin yet. I think
I do want to say I feel like there is the potential for something that is a more thoughtful setup with Puffin. I feel like there are so many cards that say, tap these to do this and tap these to do this, that there might be some interaction that's super busted that everybody wants to kind of race to at some point. I don't know that we figured that out yet, but I do feel like the potential for like a combo-esque type deck is definitely there, especially with like Lubricate and System Reset and stuff. But the reason I mentioned that with System Reset is any token item, because there are a lot of token items nowadays. They cannot be banished. They do not come back. You know what I mean? Hyper X3, a special note about that one. For whatever reason, I believe the ruling says that if you were to use Hyper X3 with the tokens banished underneath it, I don't believe you're allowed to pull them out for the construct's attacks for some reason. Man, I'd have to brush up on that ruling.
Like a banished zone. They're like in the
well, they do.
banished zone.
They actually they get banished
that.
and then placed under it. Yeah, which is an odd way to word it, but that distinction means that it functions differently from all the Evos and from the construct. You can still pull the Hyper X3 from under it, but you can't pull the hyperdrivers it has banished with it. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to run that card. It also, by proxy, means that if you were somehow to banish a token hyperdriver, it would not be able to obviously go under.
But, yeah. So you're going to see us. We're gonna play around with Nitro Mechanoid version of Puffin, just for shiggles.
The thing that I would say already going into this deck is
you're going to have a bad time.
Just losing that crank on the hyperdrivers makes this deck very difficult.
Right. Cripples it. Yeah.
Really slow, but I don't know about difficult. Like,
well,
it would just all of your hyperdrivers would just be chain enders, you know.
Right.
You also have no way to make token ones.
No. I think if you really want to see some paper, do Dash IO and put hyperdrivers in it. You still can't crank them, but you can flash them out.
Yeah.
And then you can boost again the resources.
You're thinking shift over to Dash IO.
I think Dash IO will be a better payoff for this than.
But I guess my question would be is, yeah, you're stuck with the things, but I was looking at the pirate cards, thinking that there would be something interesting.
That's an avenue I haven't really looked at. I know there's some really, really good pirate cards. Some of those ships are pretty nasty. They remind me of Teklobusin attacks almost. Or it's like, oh, you made these conditions? This attack's super spicy now.
Okay.
I mean, the first attack gets +3. You put a gold counter on Treasure Island. We don't play with that, so that doesn't help. But if you're just looking in general, it is a 1 for 5. I mean, that's pretty good. No go again. The sloops are pretty fun, the 2 blues, because you could technically load this with a bunch of those cogs, right? And you could really pitch. Well, Matt, you were coaching me through that I can't just pitch to nothing. So the cogs were kind of a little bit of a problem because
you can inefficiently pitch and you can over pitch, but you can't pitch for no reason. So if something costs 2, you can pitch, a red and then a blue. But you can't pitch a blue and then a blue, or you can't pitch, a yellow and then a blue. If you cover that cost, the cost is covered. There is nothing else you can do there.
Now, this is pretty cheeky because a lot of people are playing with gold. You could technically maybe try to get a 2 for 7 out of this.
Yeah, I mean, another one of those good cards that just kind of blew up out of nowhere whenever, the pre-high seas economy spikes started happening was that card Pay Up, that generic from Heavy Hitters that just says if your opponent controls a gold, it gets +1 and overpower. And then if it hits, you gain control of a gold they control, and if you don't, it deals 1 to them. I think it's a 3 cost red.
So this is kind of fun. Golden Tipple, this is a combo that is kind of jank. So when this attacks, you may discard a yellow card. If you do, draw a card and create a gold token. So let's talk through this. So Golden Tipple. Okay, theoretically, Golden Tipple. Let's take that and say, when this attacks, you may discard a yellow card. Okay, let's discard a yellow hyperdriver. So your hand is Golden Tipple and yellow hyperdriver. So now you've discarded a yellow hyperdriver into your graveyard. You're getting to draw a card and create a gold token, and then you could play Blessing of Ingenuity to get that hyperdriver back.
At the start of your next turn.
You can also do things like if you're running 9 of them and you're boosting them, you can do heist. You can do expedites to get them out of your hand. You can do MedRx to get them out of your hand. You can play those cards.
There's a card called Gas Up that pumps a Mechanologist attack, and then I think pulls a Hyperdriver from Banish to the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of effects that get him back from Banish, it seems like. But
yeah, just playing them out from your hand seems like it's going to be, sadly, the worst option in this deck.
And unfortunately, she's the only one who's kind of hard locked to it.
Yeah.
You know what? Dash.io can use Spark of Genius to go grab him too.
Can.
Just saying.
And rip a card off of him too.
True.
I mean, looking at all the different stuff that's in here, there really isn't. I mean, pirate-wise, that would be about it. So really, the use pirate cards doesn't currently seem like, other than the sloop, doesn't seem like there's that many pirate cards that really change the dramaticness of how this.
The unfortunate thing is the pirate cards care so much about yellows, and the Mechanologist that is so well versed in yellows is Dash. In my personal opinion, Dash has Spark of Genius. It seems like a ton of really good yellow items that she has access to, can flash in.
True. My dash list, I tend to run like, right. But like my dash list, I'd run yellow bloom grenades even.
Yeah.
This won't let me change hero in the middle of a deck, will it?
Probably not.
Not in the middle of that. You'd have to just basically create a new deck, I think.
Womp. Okay.
I still, because you wanted Max, right? You wanted Max to be good. You were searching for Max lists. Not to pull you away from a new hero, but to kind of push you back onto an old one. I mean, I really do think that you should try this Max list, or at least try a variation, or let us guide you in the way of building a Max deck. I would say actually be a Max player.
Like follow your heart, but I would say leaning into physical hyperdrivers will behoove you. And you know, if I may speak for Matt for a second, he can disagree if he's so inclined at this point. But for a long time, he was a 6 hyperdrivers kind of guy. You know, even he wanted to run at least red and yellow physical hyperdrivers in the list. To up your consistency for all of your hyperdriver effects and to capitalize on them, because Max is the only guy that lets you get free action points off of them, especially if you use that puffer jacket. It's unreal. Your blues come in with an extra one. You can crank them and keep them around, and then your reds come in with 4 counters on them. It's insane. You're getting so much free value out of the boosts when you have all those hyperdrivers out.
Yeah, that was our war of ideals for the longest time, was whether or not to include blue hyperdrivers. I was vehemently.
They gave me some equipment that really helped that argument. Yeah,
they did. They said, you know what, you guys are both correct. Why don't you just run 9?
Right, here you go.
It's fine.
Now you can both be happy. Right.
That's right.
I'm very happy.
I'm too. I'm as well. I still, you know, I always enjoyed the idea of building Max as an engine deck. I think, if I remember correctly, I think what pushed me into that was I had just started watching that channel 3 Floating, and I think that they had Josh Lee Kwai on. And he was one of those like, oh, I like engine decks, I like value decks, this is how I want to play it. And he kind of explained that, like, that gameplay loop of, you know, I block 2 cards, then I play a 0-cost boost, pitch a blue to make a hyperdriver, swing Banksy. I just did a 2-card 7. And then next turn, I block 2 cards and I keep a zipper hit, and I play a zipper hit pitching a blue. I boost it, I gain my resource back from my hyperdriver. Same thing, I pitch a blue, I activate Max, and I swing Banksy. And I just did a 2-card 8. And you just kind of keep moving up the chain as you go along. And those 2 extra cards that you don't block with are either galvanized cards that can also have go again, like Soup Up, or they are just good 3-block cards, or maybe they are actual block cards where it's like, I like the card Firewall just as a block card because it's just a Mechanologist block card.
Well, they just foiled that card too. That, you know, they're coming out with that new mechanic that kind of forces you to run block cards if you want to interact with it. So
yeah,
yep.
Cards like Firewall will only be going up in their theoretical game value.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, have we overloaded your brain with Mechanologist stuff yet?
That's a lot. I think that people, if you like mech, this is a lot to digest, and there's a lot. I mean, there's at least 6 to 10 different variations you can throw out with between the, you know, different heroes. I mean, each of the heroes, whether it's Max or Puffin or Dash.io, each have 2 to 3 game plans you can pick with each of them. And that's just the main game plans. We're not even talking about my first iteration of the deck, which is the unlimited cogs version.
For sure. For sure.
I feel like
Jacob,
that'd
you were the 57 relentless rats and 3 swamps kind of guy, weren't you?
actually, it was like more like about 38 of them, and then it was a thrumming stone and some other cards that would.
Yes, my man. That's what I'm talking about. That's the good stuff.
It's funny. I know that deck is around here because I really, that was one of the few decks that like I said when I was done with Magic, I was like, I just can't get rid of this. Like it was just too exciting, and there it is.
The last thing I was doing in Magic before I quit playing Magic for Flesh and Blood was I had gotten so sick of CDH and I moved into Pioneer, and I played a mono black Rat Colony Pioneer deck, and it was some of the most fun I'd ever had in Magic, and then I just quit.
I'll have to show you this old. This was my last. I mean, now that we're in just jank territory, my last commander deck I ever built was Thraxamunder. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Whenever Thraxamunder attacks, defending player sacrifice a creature. Whenever a player sacrifices a creature, you put that many +1/+1 counters on there. So like this had a bunch of cards that were like search for things, and then the idea was like Proteus Staff and some other like ways to basically like Mud Drifter. I remember was pretty important, but you would essentially like blink shit in and out. And then you would Miragi or Mirgai, I think, or Mir whatever that one was. Anyways, you would just like fork. You would basically kill everyone in one turn because there was like fork and traumatize. Basically, it was a deck to infinitely do traumatize to everybody. And you would like, I'm gonna twin cast fork, blah blah blah, reiterate, reverberate, and then reverberate or reverberation. I think, yeah, there's reverberate and retaliate. I don't know. There was a bunch of freaking ways to do stuff, and it was just like, I remember this being one of those like ha 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 decks where I did nothing all game, then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, everybody ready? And then everybody loses. Like, let's just have fun. I don't know. That was my nostalgia deck.
Love that. I love some good Grixis fun.
Yeah.
God.
I do really miss it. I want so bad.
We know who you like. We know you love Nekusar, dude. Come on, don't even say it. Don't say Nekusar.
I want a Shadow Wizard in this game so bad that deals arcane damage whenever you make someone draw a card.
Do you want to see my Force of Wills?
Your Fourth of Wills?
Force of Wills. These were the It's funny because there was a set of Power 9 I used to own back in the day, but like these are what they call gaming ETC tokens. They're like unofficial, official proxies that somehow got printed at one point. This was my Tendrils of Agony Storm deck. This is the other one I had in here. So it had
all the classics, dude. Tendrils of Agony.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, I still have my Yawgmoth's Will. I thought I sold that thing. Yawgmoth's Will, Vampiric Tutor, Memory Jar, Mind's Desire, Mana Vault, Tolarian Academy, Necropotence, Mystical Tutor, Lotus. Like,
you know how blasphemous this is? What a blasphemous act for us to be talking.
Yeah, what are we even talking about right now, dude?
Hey,
what is happening?
What? Play what you love. Like I know that I'm gonna say that until I turn blue in the face, but like legitimately.
That's right, except for Yu-Gi-Oh. Don't play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, you'll love this deck just because I'm digging through this, and I'm just gonna finish out my last one. It was my Dark Depths deck. It was it was crop rotation, and I used to play all my lands used to be all snow. Oh, because it's green. Look, it's gonna let me see through.
That's pretty sick.
That's the green screen. So there we go. That's fun. I used to play all snow-covered lands because I just thought it was really fun.
Cool.
That was a trick that our play group learned very early when we would go play at the shop. That we would all play snow-covered lands and what is the imprint artifact that makes all your lands of a certain type tap for 1 extra? It would register as.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
If you put
it was a
regular
Mirrodin
land
card.
under there. Yes. Yeah. If you put a regular forest under there, snow-covered forests can tap. But if you put a snow-covered forest under there, only snow-covered forest.
Then only you get the benefit. Yeah.
Yes, we min-max. Listen. If you want to talk about how just hyper spiky and competitive. All of us are. That's the kind of stuff that we were learning, like getting into Magic. So
this was my lowland stompy deck. I remember this one specifically. It was like rogue elephants, rancors with berserks, I think was the term, the card. Yeah, the berserk.
Oh, yeah.
You would double the. So this was my Kano version of playing. I would just like on turn 3 or 4 be able to just like rip out like some absurd amount of damage. So.
Oh yeah.
You ever heard of Hatred?
Oh yeah.
The Magic card?
What was it?
Yeah, like Hatred. It's a card. It's kind of expensive. I think it's like 3 and 2 black or something, and you pay life to pump your creature by that much. So you only get it off once or twice, but you send somebody real early and surprise it out with like a dark ritual. Yeah, and then the second time you usually get like lightning bolted or something when you do it. But
don't be crazy. If you start talking about Kano too much, we'll teach you how to play them.
I don't know where it is, but I have it's a World of Warcraft, like, you know, those clamshell ones that you used to get when you get the deck and you could like, it was like a binder thing. Inside of there was the last Magic deck I ever made. And it was the idea was you would turn their, this was before all the advanced lands. This is no longer works, but it was back when everybody just played, you know, swamp, forest, plains, island, and what am I missing?
Forget it.
Mountain. But you would animate one of their lands, and then you would eradicate all forests named creatures from their deck, or all swamps named creatures, and they would have nothing, and they would just be, you would be dead. Like, that was, I don't know,
pretty gross.
Trip down memory lane for me. That's
yeah.
The person who taught me how to play Magic used to have a Karn Silver Golem deck. And it was the only time that I've ever spazzed out in a game so hard that I threw my cards was early into my learning of CDH, and I threw them. I was pretty upset. He pulled a Mycosynth Lattice combo on me where he went infinite with mana, turned everything into artifacts, and then turned all my lands into artifact creatures that were 0/0s, came to life, and then died.
And they died.
And I couldn't grasp my mind around what had happened, so I went to play a Darksteel Citadel, of course, an artifact land, and without even the combo, he just popped it with Karn, and I spazzed. I let out a grown man, and I had to stand up from the table. It's not a good time.
Let's just say it's funny in my head because some of the most interesting memories I have are between 2 different games, Flesh and Blood and the early years of Magic. Before, like, I'm talking back in my high school days when we had a shop here in town called the Dugout. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but that's where,
off of Washington Street.
Yeah, that is where, when I grew up, man, that was like, I was grinding there every weekend with the Juggalo crew. It was like we would all be in there all the time, and it was just like, oh man, it was.
Matt, you remember me telling you about that kid, that 12-year-old that was talking smack to that grown man? That was at the Dugout off Washington Street, dude. We drive up there every chance we got. They had a great selection of Magic singles and super friendly. Yeah. I love it. I love it up there, dude.
I think Jamie was the store owner, I think, or there was like one or two.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So
I have to talk about this bit that I've been laughing about. And Robert, I told you about this earlier today, but Jacob, this is fresh for you. So I know the last time I was on here, I talked about the card shop out in Colorado. So just a quick shout out to Meg Ames out there. But the owner, Kyle, is one of my best friends. We chat all the time, and I was talking to him, and he had said something about being in a villain arc, and I'd made the joke about him being Anakin and that he needed to go slaughter his younglings, and I said the equivalent for us would be you have to go to a shop and just spike like a junior Pokemon tournament as a grown 40-year-old man, and just nuke this little tournament, and just with no mercy, just like whatever, kid, get better. I can imagine the one kid in the finals too is just that last kid, the last Padawan that's fighting for his life out there on the balcony.
That's Please, so mister. Bad, so bad.
I got your lightning energy. Very funny. And it's been cracking me up for 2 days.
I love me some Pokemon, man. Like I collect more than I ever played, but like I tried to learn how to play, and there was a period of time where I spent a significant portion of my life trying to figure out like the when I left Magic, I did Pokemon, and the play style in Pokemon was just so different than anything else I'd ever experienced, and didn't click well for me. The prize system and the other stage just didn't seem to like. Because then they had like you can get one prize for knocking out a basic, and then like an EX was like 2 prizes, and then they had these ones that was like you knock out and you lose 3 prizes.
Yeah, V's and VMAXs. I played a lot of Pokemon just at that shop. I became our professor for the shop, and I wanted to learn how to play just to be able to teach kids and stuff. And
That's an
I
accomplishment.
found, thank you. I found that the same things that I disliked about Magic were the same things that I disliked about Pokemon. Which, go figure. You know what I mean? They were both originally made by Wizards, so. I did not like that there were clear differences between the types as far as power levels. Same way with there were clear differences as far as power levels amongst colors. I am just a sad little goblin boy in Magic, and I loved Mono Red, and I hated that I tried Jessica Dargo in CDH, I tried Godo in CDH, I tried Bergie, I tried Magda, I tried as many things as I could to make Mono Red CDH be really good, and every time it was Force of
Ball
Will.
Lightning. See, I remember there's several Magic cards I remember like being obsessed with, and one of them was a Ball Lightning, the 6/1 I think is what it was. And then the only other thing I remember is I have a buddy. His name is Alex, or nickname's Twink. He basically he plays like a super high end CEDH. I think it's called Academy Rector. And last I checked, that deck was worth 5 digits. You know, he max rarity'd everything, and it's insane to see that. It's like when you look at it, you're like, holy crap! Like that's something. It's wild.
I mean, even our armies, you've seen some of our players, especially one of our particular players, is very heavy on the bling, especially with his illusionist decks.
Yeah, well, Gen Con, I might be having to talk to somebody about, and I don't know how this is going to work out, but I don't know if they're going to stamp a badge, like to say you only get one or whatever, but I could see a world where they limit the Armory decks, the 2 legend decks, to like, you know, you get like a star, maybe you stamp for you got the, let's say the Prism and the Chain
The
decks
Viscerai.
or whatever, or Viscerai. I think it is Viscerai, isn't it?
Yes, it's right.
Okay. And then maybe if you're going to buy that, there's like this, I haven't even talked about it. There's a couple of photos of it floating around, but it's like the special, you know, convention exclusive where it has 4 like Marvel version of equipment. Like I could imagine they like cut a corner off your badge and say you get one. So
Probably.
That's a thing they do.
I have in the past, yeah, it actually used to be a lot more common where for exclusive items, they would either scan your badge, and then when you go up to the register, they'd scan it, and they would say, "Oh, we already see you've already purchased one of these."
Well, I'm fine with that. I'm saying you said something about full Marvel equipment.
Have you not seen that just yet? Here, let me pull it up and show you.
No, I haven't. What are you
Okay.
talking about?
Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
And also, how much is this going to cost me?
We don't know. We don't know
Do
anything.
nothing.
We don't know any of the
Whatever.
details. There are
Marveled out deck. I'm sure it's going to be MSRP $149.99 or something.
Wait till you
no,
see
it's,
him, bro.
it's not a deck. It's actually just a couple of specific cards. Let me.
It's 4
Really?
pieces of equipment. Yep, it is. I'll tell you what the equipment are while Jacob's looking them up. It is the original Luminaris. It is Phantasmal Footsteps.
So
It
there's
is Reaping Blade.
Yep.
And it is Spellbound Creepers.
and they look freaking beautiful. Like they look top shelf.
Spellbound Creepers?
Hang on now. They are
Oh,
rainbow foil Marvel.
man.
They are rainbow foil Marvel, like the treasure pack tokens.
Did they actually?
I've already got a rainbow foil.
Because I have heard that they were not rainbow foil. I heard that they were.
Oh, my
non-foil.
gosh.
Look how sick it looks.
Oh.
No, you can see right there, they're rainbow.
Boy.
Okay,
You can-
sorry,
that's so
I had to
cool,
pull up.
though.
I had to pull up a bunch of photos, but this is the box that you get them in. So it says Light and Shadow Convention exclusive, and it has LSS. Now the box looks fucking beautiful. Like the box is
It
just 10 out of 10. The cards on the inside are, here's the Reaping Blade, right? And you can see at the bottom it says Con 001, 2, 3, and 4, and they're green triangles, so they're not purple. But yeah, look at
that
the-
thing, dude.
So that's that green
Oh my
triangle.
gosh.
I'm wondering if it's going to be a cold foil Marvel, and that's denoting that it's a promotional cold foil Marvel, or if the green Marvel.
Could be.
Because look right here,
It's a promo sign.
it looks rainbow foil,
Yeah.
doesn't
But
it?
this is kind of the equivalent of what they did in Dynasty, where they released the Emperor's Treasures and stuff. And I look at it like that. You know, this obviously, in a weird way, this kind of gets into an interesting territory. I guess I'll just add it to this video. But I'll talk about it on an actual thing next weekend when I do my next podcast. But just the teaser of it here is, let's say they did this with Mask of Momentum, right? Okay, I'm picking on Phantasmal Footsteps because this card was an original, like the cold foil. This card at one point got up to like $600, $700, $800. The first edition regular version of the cold foil of Phantasmal Footsteps got stupid expensive. Over time, I think it's gone down. I don't even know what it is right now. I'm going to go take a look.
It's got to be sub 250.
Not referring to the golden one, because there is a golden one. The regular unlimited rainbow foil is $90. The why do they not show a first edition? Oh, you know what? This is back in the before times where you had to filter everything. And yeah, the cold foil. So the first edition cold foil is only $135. So a Phantasmal Footsteps cold foil, which, mind you, at Gen Con, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, like pretty close to like right when this was hot. I traded my Phantasmal Footsteps for a Delta species Gyarados rare red something or other. It was a specific. I'm a Gyarados collector. I don't know if you know that about me, Robert, but I try to collect everything Magikarp and Gyarados, and that's in Pokemon for those that don't know. But I traded that card, and it was at a substantial. Like at this point, I'm going to go take a look. I don't even know Delta species Gyarados.
You being a Magikarp guy speaks volumes, Jacob.
Hey, dude, come on, dude. It's based off the mythology of Japan, dragons and koi fish, dude. Come on, dude.
I'm not disparaging anybody.
Come on, dude.
I would never. I love.
What's the deal, dude? It's one of the greatest Pokemon of all time, dude.
A beautiful dragon, but not a dragon type.
Who's your favorite Pokemon? Who's your favorite Pokemon, dude? Probably Smoochum, dude. No, he's not a dragon type, dude. He's water flying, dude.
You know who my favorite Pokemon is.
He's water flying, dude.
You know who my favorite Pokemon is, dude.
Lopunny.
Get wrecked!
No.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, dude, my favorite Pokemon's Machamp, dude.
I love this hat. I don't know. It's always been.
Dude.
Great that. Dude, Machamp's the best. I love the visualization of just like. It's funny in a game to watch Machamp just like move and like have a cool little static pose. But in real life, watching a Machamp just beat the dog shit out of your little rat Pokemon would be ridiculous.
I haven't looked at this specific card. I haven't looked at the value of this card because, in my opinion, while it exists, it is never leaving my collection. Like it's a fake thing. I said the Phantasmal Footsteps I traded is now worth $133. What do you think the Gyarados Star Delta species is at right now?
Is it a secret?
What?
Is it a secret?
Delta, the way that these worked is it's in Harlem Phantom. It was called an ultra rare.
Okay. I'm putting my finger on 500 bones.
Here, I'm going to copy. Can I copy image link? I'll show you what the card looks like. And then I'll drag over the TCG player. Oh, access denied. Okay. Well, okay, I guess we'll just send the whole card over. A damaged holofoil. Oh, you can't see the price behind me. That's cool. I can go into this. So the card looks like that. That's the card. A damaged holofoil. Drum roll, please.
Oh boy.
Oh my golly.
Mine was near mint.
Oh my god.
Someone is selling. Somebody is selling a 7 for $3,500. Holy crap!
What happened to the value right there? Did someone just find a box of them?
Yeah, you see that? Somebody opened one. Probably. Yeah.
That's
insane.
That is wild. And I'm not trying to like say like, hey, I'm glad I made what I mean. To me, that was my goal. Like my goal was to try to collect one of every Gyarados, one of every Magikarp. So that went to my goal. And I was actually kind of sad to get rid of my Footsteps because I was trying to also in Flesh and Blood do a full set collection. And that was one of those times where I said to myself, I can't get every cold foil at this time. It was really hard to get boxes. So that's when I made the decision to move that to get that. And apparently now I can go back and complete my collection for much cheaper. So wild crap, wild stuff. But yes, Robert, those are the four convention exclusive cards in a convention exclusive box. Which, frankly, I don't want the cards. I want the box. I know it sounds really wild, but I like the odd stuff.
Man, you know what that box reminds me of? It reminds me of a secret layer box.
Ah,
Just
well, I was
saying,
gonna say,
dude. I'm just saying, dude. It looks kind of
Yeah.
like it.
It's
Similar
kind of
font.
it's a product that you can give LSS your money directly, and they give you
from
fancy
the
cardboard.
vault. From the
Oh,
vault.
man, that's
I think this
There
is
you go.
closer to from the
Well,
vaults.
okay,
I'll
okay.
take
They've
it
done
from
that
the
before
vault.
too, but that's fine. Fine.
Yeah. Listen, if this is an ungodly price and convention exclusive, come on, guys. You know what I mean? If this is like accessible just by being in the happenstance of being in this convention, you know, we've kind of talked about like, is it like a product that you're going to buy? Is it going to be one of those like promotional things of like you spent X amount of dollars with us, we're going to give you this? We'll see.
I could be honest. I think it's going to be super limited. I think it's going to be fairly either expensive if you have to buy it, or it's going to be spend $500 or more and you get this. Limit one per person up to the first 100 people that do whatever. Like,
this is going to be, if you don't snag it on Thursday, maybe you'll get it if you get there Friday morning, and then probably not.
I mean, the two chances of seeing what's going to happen is you're going to see it not this weekend, but next weekend at SCG, or God bless it, it's San Diego Comic-Con, where Weta Workshop and them will be at an event. So that might be through that. And then you'll have it at Gen Con, I'm assuming. That would be my thought, because it's a convention exclusive. So,
yep. We know that we'll have the Prism and the Viserai decks there, which also, not to, again, you know, sorry, Robert, but I'm shocked that they didn't do a Prism and a Chain deck to go with those two original, like just the, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems weird that they chose Viserai, even though Chain has been LL'd for, I mean, years longer, you know? I'm always, don't get me wrong, I love Viserai, and I'm always a fan of Viserai getting new stuff. But I kind of had said something to Robert earlier about it makes me worried that they maybe won't bring Viserai back if they're supporting him in LL. It makes me worried that, well, and if we get a new Runeblade, cool. You know, I'm not a Runeblade player, Robert. I know you very much are. So I only speak about them as somebody who faces them but doesn't pilot them. So, and facing them is they're all pretty tough. I think the worst Runeblade is still pretty tough to fight. So,
well,
pretty good.
Something else this is just a last minute thing I'll throw out there, because I think we're going to probably wrap this up for our timing. I bet you we're close to 2 hours, because I got an hour and a half on this timer, and I didn't start it until we were probably well through the first two, because I forgot to do it, which is perfectly fine. I have no problem sitting here and chatting and hanging out. I am looking for a couple of folks, and you two may be the best option here, to partake in experiencing some other TCGs for comparative research and understanding of mechanics. I tried to do this at one point with Altered TCG, Sorcery TCG, Lorcana was another one I was dabbling with. Magic the Gathering is easy enough.
I'm going to call out one.
What's up?
So I said I'm going to call out one. So I have not played a game of it yet, but recently one of our locals put me onto Chrono Core. I am a very big mech fan. Obviously, I don't play Mechanologist, which is very funny, but as far as like, you know, Pacific Rim is one of my favorite movies. You know, I do enjoy Evangelion. I was a big Gundam fan. Not super huge. It's not something that I actively still am part of the fandom or lore or anything like that of, but it looks very much like a crossover between Gundam meets Flesh and Blood. It seems like it's still in its infancy, and
it looked like it was a Kickstarter. It looks like.
Yeah, Robert and I have looked into it. It looks very fun.
We were actually brainstorming one day, like, what would a mech fighting game look like? And then this guy that we play with told us about this game. We were like, this checks all the boxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it sounds like it's exactly what we were talking about. So something we've been kind of excited to look into a little bit.
380 people backed it for almost $70,000. I mean, it was a success. That's pretty neat. I mean, as long as they deliver it, you know, that it says it was created May 2019, so maybe it is in production somewhere.
Yeah, I think it started. It started in production about the time that Flesh and Blood had come out, and I
Okay.
think that the creator of it was even like, oh shit. But
Yeah.
it's been being lovingly developed for the last 5 years is what it sounds like the guy's been saying. So I haven't spoken with the creator myself. I know the guy who put us onto it has. I'm real interested in talking with them. Robert's real interested in talking with them. Jacob, we've told you that we're looking at starting a YouTube channel as well. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing for us to kind of look into as well, is kind of supporting a new game, and it'll be a great time.
Well, and there's other games that I've looked into. I actually had a conversation with another game called Alpha Clash, which is I don't even, the word competitor doesn't really do things justice because everybody has their own niches within the ecosystem. But one of the reasons I was so gung-ho about that is there is a specific thing they are working to release. I don't know what's public. I'm not going to say anything at the moment just for fear of saying something wrong. But there is a particular thing that may or may not be coming up in the near-ish future. And I wonder if it's on there. I'm gonna take a quick look real quick because I can always edit this piece out if it's wrong. Because okay, it is officially on their website as of June 11th. Alpha Clash PvE has arrived. That is why I spoke to these people, is because they are coming out with a 1 to 5 cooperative experience. And I believe it will be at possibly Gen Con. That's close enough. So I don't see... It looks like, after Gen Con, it will be available at Team Covenant, Champion stores, and individual distribution partners. I am going to be picking this up, just like I'm going to pick up Smash Palace for Flesh and Blood, because I love that. Let's all have fun. This is one of those things where I would enjoy to... It would be my pleasure to sit down and play this game with you two as a group. Because even Ben, like, I feel between the four of us, this would be a slot in for something fun. And that would be another exciting thing to just experience, right? Because, it's not specifically Flesh and Blood, and I know I've been really on Fab for a very long time now, but there are other joys that are out there, and I feel like even some of these little niche-y, board game-esque kind of things that are out there, which is why Smash Palace is, like, absolutely a godsend. I think that's going to be a slam dunk, because that's going to blend that TCG and board game space together. And I feel like that is going to be a new renaissance for what Fab has access to, because once you get the board gamer niche into there and you can treat it like the Round the Table was their first foray into trying that. And I think if they can nail that, you'll get a very big increase that no one is on the level of understanding. I mean, there are way more board gamers than there are card gamers.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
But those are just some other ones. Grand Archive was another one I looked at one point. I'm surrounded by cardboard everywhere, so there's remnants of a lot of games, old, new, defunct games that have ceremoniously died. Genesis Battle of Champions was another one that was one that I messed around with for a while. There's just World of Warcraft, Star Wars CCG, Star Trek, LCG, Legend of Five Rings.
Yeah, I used to buy the Warcraft cards. I didn't play them, but I loved opening the packs and getting the codes out and stuff and doing nothing with them. Always loved opening packs,
Speaking of packs, I'm going to offer this because your first time on here. We're going to go to my Box O sealed. Oh wait, is it? Oh, that's cool. That's neat. Look, you can see through it. I don't know. That's fun. So inside this box, this is my sealed pack collection. So the only rule is if it's the last one, I can't open it. But inside of here, is there a particular set that you're interested in? We can open. I got looks like a lot of Rosetta. I got Bright Lights Hunted.
Yep, open that Rosetta up, dude.
Okay, well I got.
Open that Rosetta. We're looking for that Rosetta Thorn Marble. Come on, baby. Give me that one that's backwards, dude. That's the good luck on Pokemon Pocket. That's right. Be the one. Yep, that's one. Yep.
Right. You always look for the backwards packs on Pokemon Pocket.
You know that there's crimped versions on that too, or something like.
With the bent corners.
Yeah, the wife was showing me.
We are autistic enough to like sit there and like spin each pack and look to see which one's crinkled the most.
Okay.
They're original.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh
nice.
no.
That was
How do I
smooth.
no key? Hold on, no key. Can I go no key? Well, if we hit it, it'll be see-through a little bit because I'm not going to sit there and try to pull the. All right. How's this work? Let's see here. What do we got? Wow, this is kind of wild to see what the green screen does to some of these the green on these cards. That's pretty sweet. That's
That is
wild.
cool.
That's wildly weird.
You need to start wearing an all green bodysuit like Green Man, and then just have your head.
Oh, there you
And
go. Look at
just
that. You can see right
It'll just be
between.
Lord Sutcliffe.
What do we got? We got the sigil. I can't believe sigil's a common too. Oh, this is trippy as hell. This is awesome. This is wild. Heaven's Claw.
Okay.
We got anything? Photon splicing. Okay. You know, it's been a while since I did the Rune Blood actions, so they hit the high notes. I remember that
Great
one. You
card.
probably, do you run that in your Vincent deck?
No, I don't.
Oh, here you go.
I don't run that one either.
Arcane Cussing.
Yeah.
Etchings of Arcana. All right, did we finally
Got
get
a
the
hold
equipment?
focus.
We got a hold focus. We got a dual card. It's
Pulsing Aether.
it's see-through for half of it. All right, next up.
Ooh.
Save the thought. It's the wizard. Man, this is a pack for you. What'd we hit? That's a foil.
Rainbow
overlay.
Glyph overlay.
Glyph. And tokens.
Token.
Hey.
Whap.
That's all.
Whap. Whap.
They can't all be
Let me
heavy
see 'em.
hitters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we did hit a Marvel on the other one. Sorry, we're coming in with
Yeah, that's
bit of-
okay. We all got to chill out sometimes.
but yeah, it's been a blast, been a pleasure. So thanks for
Man,
talking
thanks for-
through some of the mech stuff. I mean, that's super
sure.
exciting stuff.
Yeah, we can't wait to
Love
see what
talk
you
about
bring
it.
on
Thanks for
Wednesday.
having us on, man. Yeah, for sure.
Have to do this, and even hell, if you want to do something in person, I mean, I can randomly bring the equipment, or if you want to start filming some games at the shop, I need to talk to him how we can do that. But I do have a mobile setup where I can bring a camera to record top down stuff, or technically I can stream through the laptop if we wanted to try and do some of that on Armory.
We've talked to him about it. He's open to it, and he should have a setup for it, so that shouldn't be a problem. We can definitely start doing those.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any final comments, thoughts, anything cool?
Same thing from
No,
last
man.
week. This team
I mean-
fucking rocked, dude.
Yeah,
Alright.
had a great time. You'll find your niche with the mechs, dude. So just keep at it.
All right. Well, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, do the things, you know. And when these guys get their YouTube channel, subscribe to them, and we'll catch you later. Peace.
See ya.